Hello students, good evening, welcome back to the class. So we have started with the new lesson, winds, storms and a cyclone. So we are discussing in the previous class about how the wind currents are generated. Okay, so these wind currents are generated on the earth's surface due to a uneven heating between the equators and the poles, and the next one is uneven heating between the sea and the land. So those we call it as the land breeze and the sea breeze. So I hope you all understood that one. And the next concept is thunderstorms. So how these thunderstorms are produced? When there is a low pressure, means when there is a low atmospheric pressure on the water bodies, it will creates means it will carries water droplets along with the winds that causes a thunderstorm. Sometimes we call it as a monsoon winds, which are helpful for the farmers to yield the vegetables and products, means which are useful for our day-to-day purposes. So when there is a severe winds are produced with the thunderstorm, that causes cyclones. Okay, so in the today's class we are going to deal with how the cyclones are produced and how it is formed, and how many stages are there. We are going to learn today. Okay, so these cyclones are mainly of three stages. The first one is tropical cyclones, then severe cyclones, and the next one is super cyclones. So these are going to divided with respect to a particular locations. Okay, so what I call the cyclones, there is a low atmospheric pressure on a water bodies that will leads to form the what? Cyclones. Okay, so the mainly we call the cyclones as three types. One is hurricanes and typhoons, and the next one is cyclones. So these are going to call the cyclones in different worlds according to their location. Okay, so these hurricanes are we can observe in the Atlantic and the Northeast Pacific. So where there is a place, means the place of Atlantic and the Northeast Pacific, there we call the cyclones as hurricanes. Okay, so when in the place Northwest Pacific, in the Northwest Pacific, we call the cyclones as typhoons. Okay, so the Southwest Pacific and the Indian Oceans, we call the cyclones as cyclones itself. Okay, so based on their location, we call the cyclone in the different words. Okay, so in the hurricanes, we call, means in the places like Atlantic and the Northeast, we call it as hurricanes, and the Northwest Pacific we call it as typhoons, and in the Southwest Pacific and in the Indian Oceans we call them as cyclones. Or we can call these cyclones or hurricanes depending upon their hemisphere. Okay, so hemisphere means if it is earth and this is a hemisphere, so the northern part of the hemisphere where such kind of places are present, in those places we call them as hurricanes, where northern hemisphere, and in the southern hemisphere cyclones are referred as cyclones itself. Okay, it is based on the hemisphere of the earth's surface. So the next one is these hurricanes are always in an anti-clockwise direction. Okay, here I written that. So these hurricanes and the typhoons, we call them as hurricanes, and these are anti-clockwise in direction, and the cyclones are clockwise in direction. Okay, so this is about the three stages of the cyclones. So the next one is the tropical cyclones we observe, means the usual range of cyclones we observe is 10 to 15 meters height. Okay, it will leads to up to 10 to 15 meters height, and the diameter of this is up to 100 to 200 kilometer, and it will the distance it will cover will be same here. Okay, so and it is usually present within 3 to 7 days. Okay, so this is about what a tropical cyclone, and it is speed and So these tropical cyclones depend upon how much amount of a speed wind is present and how far it will move. Means how much distance does it will cover. Depend upon that the days will be calculated. Okay, this is what a actual or what some we call it as some irregularities, or what we say it is exact, not exact. We are predicting that this is what the cyclones. Okay, so the highest cyclone we observed, means the highest cyclone observed or recorded in the place where it is Philippines. Okay. Okay students, so the highest cyclone is recorded in the place is Philippines. Okay, the Philippines has recorded the highest and the largest cyclone. It is in the year 1979 and it is at the place Southwest Pacific in Philippines. Okay, so the range of the cyclone is 2200 kilometer, means it covers a distance of 2200 kilometers and the height of that is height or the speed of that wind will be equals to how much? 305 kilometer per hour, means the wind speed per hour is, means the wind speed in 1 hour is 305 kilometers. This is all about the tropical cyclones and the largest cyclone largest cyclone is recorded. So how these cyclones are produced? Is that question? Yes. So the central area or the central whatever the area is present in the water bodies, that we call it as a eye. Okay. So this is the main thing in the cyclones, from where the winds are going to produced. So the how these winds are produced, what is the main reason behind that is, when there is a low atmospheric pressure in a water bodies, then that case what happens, the warmer air from the water bodies will move upwards and the colder air in the atmosphere that will comes to down, means that will move towards the ocean bodies. Okay, so when there is a cold air move towards the water bodies, it will stay in the water bodies. But whatever the warmer, okay, so whatever the warmer air particles or the content that move towards the atmosphere, that will all leads to form the rotating or the circular air formation at the center of the water bodies. Okay, for example, so here I am drawn the structure of the cyclone, means how the cyclones are produced here. So here this is the how the wind is moving on a water bodies. Okay, this is a water bodies we are considered, and when there is a lower atmospheric pressure on a water bodies, it will create a warmer bodies to move upwards, and the whatever the colder water bodies, it will move on the it will stay on the water surface, and the warmer bodies move upwards. When they reaches the atmospheric pressure, okay, this is the atmospheric pressure. When they reaches the atmospheric pressure, that will start to flow, means that will produces the high wind speed. And when there is a high wind speed, then there is a thin rotating wind, means thin circular wind produced at the center of the water bodies, and it will creating the cyclones. Okay, here this center part is called as a eye, and this is rising air. Okay, so here you can observe the rising air, and this is a sinking air, means some of the air is rising here. Okay, some of the rising air rises here, and the air is sinking here. So in that case, the outward flow of the wind will be produced, and this is in the anti-clockwise direction. So if it is an anti-clockwise direction, which type of cyclone it is? Obviously the hurricanes. Okay, so this is how the cyclones are produced. So the cyclone direction will be in this direction, and the stream of flow, means the colder air bodies will move like this type. Okay, so you can observe that. Okay, so you may have heard that when there is more buildings, means high buildings are there, then the cyclones will be less, means the cyclone will be distracted there. So it is not like that. So the cyclones require what? They require warmer air bodies, means warmer atmospheric pressure they require. But when they reaches to a land or some other places where the colder atmospheric pressure, then they reduces their pressure. Then in that case what happens? The cyclones will be distracted. Okay, so the buildings which are very high, in those places the pressure will be very low, so the cyclones will be reduced there. Okay, so this is based upon the cyclone and the structure of the cyclone. So the next concept is what are the distractions that causes by the cyclones. When there is a height of the cyclones will be up to what? 10 to 15 meters, then it will leads to distract the trees, buildings, and which make the people to live on some other places, and they have to leave their homages. Okay, so the distance, whatever the distance, means the rotation of the wind speed will be up to 100 to 200 kilometers. So this much amount of speed they cannot be resistance by the human people. So it will leads to damage the buildings, currents, and as well as the trees. So you may heard that when there is a cyclones happen to the particular place, then there must be lots of destruction to the trees and the buildings. So this is all about the destructions that caused by the cyclones. So the main factors which are depend upon the cyclones, means there are some factors for which cyclones are produced are the firstly the wind speed, wind direction, temperature, and humidity. Okay, if I told you to write the factors which affecting the cyclones are, you should write the wind speed, okay, wind speed, wind direction, and the temperature, and then is the humidity. Okay, so these are the four main factors that causes to produce a cyclone. Okay, so when there is a continuous cyclones are happening, means when the cyclones are happened, then there is a lots of rain, means the air or the wind from the water bodies will start to rotate, and they will move outwards with a height of 10 to 15 meters, and they carry a water droplets. So when there is a lot of water droplets, it will causes a heavy rainfall on the particular place. So this heavy rainfall may causes a loss of fertility and the properties, and the fertilization of the soil will be decreases. Hence, in those places, the whole year we cannot produce any food materials there. So these cyclones may disaster the human life, and it will causes a fertility of the soil. So this is about the destruction and what are the factors which are depend upon the or which are affecting the cyclones you have studied. Okay students, so in the next class I am going to tell you about how what are the safety measures we must prevent from the cyclones, and what we called cyclones in our country, what are the preventional measures that we are going to discuss in the next class. Thank you.